Hey everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to teach you everything about 5G security, what it is, how it works, and why it matters. This is going to be a complete guide, so stay till the end. I promise you'll understand 5G security better than most engineers after this video. So first, what even is 5G? Simply put, 5G is the fifth generation of mobile networks. Think about it this way. In the 1980s, we had 1G. You could only make phone calls. In the 90s, 2G came. Now you could send SMS. In the 2000s, 3G gave us mobile internet. In the 2010s, 4G made everything faster. Now, in the 2020s, 5G takes it to a completely different level. 5G is not just about faster phones, it's about connecting everything: cars, hospitals, factories, drones. And because it connects everything, security becomes absolutely critical. Now let's talk about how security evolved with each generation. 1G had literally zero security. Anyone with a radio scanner could listen to your phone calls. It was like talking in public. 2G introduced the SIM card and added basic encryption. That was a big step. 3G added mutual authentication, meaning both sides could verify each other. 4G improved things with full IP-based security, but it still had problems, like sending your identity unencrypted. And 5G? 5G is the first generation where security was designed in from day one, not added, not patched, built in from the ground up. That's the key message of this entire video. 5G is designed for three completely different types of use cases, and each one needs different security. First is EMBB, Enhanced Mobile Broadband. This is your high-speed internet. Think Netflix and 4K, AR and VR, cloud gaming, speeds up to 20 gigabits per second. Second is URRLC, Ultra-Reliable Low-Latency Communications. This is for things where even 1 millisecond of delay could be dangerous. Self-driving cars, remote surgery. If the signal lags, someone could die. Third is MMTC, Massive Machine-Type Communications, connecting up to 1 million devices in a single square kilometer. Smart cities, smart farms, IoT sensors everywhere. Now, here's the key thing. Security for each of these is completely different. A smart sensor doesn't need the same security as a surgical robot. 5G is designed to handle all three. Let's look at the numbers. 5G targets 20 gigabits per second peak speed, latency under 1 millisecond, reliability of 99.999%. That's less than 5 minutes of downtime per year. It supports 1 million devices per square kilometer, mobility up to 500 kilometers per hour, so yes, it works on high-speed trains, and 10,000 times more traffic than 4G. Now, think about security for a second. Encrypting data at 20 gigabits per second in real time while serving a million devices, while staying under 1 millisecond. That is the security engineering challenge of our generation. It's not just about having security, it's about having security that can keep up. To understand 5G, you need to understand what came before. In 2G, the architecture was very hardware-specific. You had base stations, controllers, switching centers, all physical boxes with dedicated jobs. 3G improved it, but was still hardware-locked. 4G introduced an all-IP architecture, which was more flexible, but it still had major security gaps. The big problems with the old designs were your real identity, your IMSI, was sent in clear text over the air. Anyone could capture it. There was no integrity protection for your actual data, and a fake base station could trick your phone into connecting to it. 5G was designed specifically to fix all of these problems. Now let's look at how 5G's architecture actually works. 5G uses what's called a service-based architecture, or SBA. Instead of dedicated hardware boxes, we now have software functions that communicate with each other like web APIs. The key components are AMF. the Access and Mobility Management function. This handles your registration and security when you connect. SMF, Session Management function, manages your data sessions and IP addresses. UPF, User Plane function, actually routes your data traffic. UDM, Unified Data Management, stores your subscriber profile and generates authentication keys. AUSF, Authentication Server function, handles the authentication process. Think of it like a company's IT system. Each department has a specific job, and they talk to each other through secure APIs. This slide is really important because it explains why 5G security exists. In 4G, your IMSI, your permanent phone identity, was sent over the air in plain text. This means anyone with a device called an IMSI catcher or a stingray, which costs just a few $1,000s, could sit near you, capture your IMSI, and track your location. Police use these, but so do criminals. Second problem, the temporary ID your phone used wasn't changed often enough, so you could still be tracked over time. Third, your actual data had no integrity protection, meaning a fake base station could inject or modify your data packets. Fourth, a fake tower could force your phone to connect using 2G instead of 4G, which has much weaker encryption. This is called a downgrade attack. 5G fixes every single one of these. Let me show you how. Before building 5G, 3GPP, the organization that writes mobile standards, defined a set of mandatory security requirements. Let me go through the important ones. First, confidentiality and integrity everywhere. Your data must be encrypted and tamper-proof. Second, authorization at every level. Not just who are you, but are you allowed to do this? Third, the system must support new algorithms in the future, because today's encryption might be broken by quantum computers in 10 years. Fourth, protection against DDoS attacks, especially important when millions of IoT devices could be hacked and used as weapons. Fifth, privacy protection. Your location and identity must be hidden. Sixth, support for emergency calls and lawful interception. Seventh, device theft prevention. Stolen phones can be remotely disabled. Eighth, support for eSIM and hardware security chips inside devices. These aren't optional. These are requirements. This is one of the coolest things 5G does. Remember I said 4G sent your IMSI, your permanent identity, in clear text? 5G solves this with something called SUSI, Subscription Concealed Identifier. Here's how it works. Your SIM card knows your IMSI, but before sending it over the air, it encrypts it using the home network's public key. So what travels over the air is not your real identity, it's this encrypted blob called SUSI. The radio network, the base station, can see the SUSI but cannot decode it. Only your home network's server, the UDM, can decode it, using the private key. So even if someone intercepts the signal, they get SUSI, which is useless to them. IMSI catchers, these stingray devices I mentioned, they simply do not work on 5G. That's a massive security win. This is one of the coolest things 5G does. Remember I said 4G sent your IMSI, your permanent identity, in clear text? 5G solves this with something called SUSI, Subscription Concealed Identifier. Here's how it works. Your SIM card knows your IMSI, but before sending it over the air, it encrypts it using the home network's public key. So what travels over the air is not your real identity, it's this encrypted blob called SUSI. The radio network, the base station, can see the SUSI but cannot decode it. Only your home network's server, the UDM, can decode it, using the private key. So even if someone intercepts the signal, they get SUSI, which is useless to them. IMSI catchers, the Stingray devices I mentioned, they simply do not work on 5G. That's a massive security win. 5G doesn't have just one encryption key for everything. It has separate protection for every single channel. Let me explain. Between your phone and the base station, there's RRC signaling, radio resource control. This is protected with both encryption and integrity checking. Then there's NAS signaling, between your phone and the core network's AMF, also encrypted and integrity protected. Then there's your actual data, the user plane. This gets confidentiality protection, encryption, always. Integrity protection on the user plane is optional. It depends on the use case. For a medical device, you'd want it. For a basic sensor that just sends temperature data, you might skip it to save battery. The point is, every layer has its own dedicated keys. Compromising one layer doesn't compromise the others. Let me explain how 5G derives all its keys. It all starts with one master key called K. This is stored securely in your SIM card and in the home network. It never leaves these places. From K, the system derives KAUSF, a key for the authentication server. From that comes KSEAF, an anchor key. From that comes KAMF, a key for your specific access node. And from KAMF, the system derives all the session keys, keys for NAS signaling, keys for the base station, keys for radio control, keys for user data. Think of it like a master key that opens a safe, and inside that safe are more keys for different doors, and each of those keys only work for their specific door. If someone compromises one session key, they cannot go backwards and find your master key K, and every time you hand over to a new base station, new keys are generated. This is called forward security.
5G's core network uses a service-based architecture, meaning network functions communicate like web services. And just like web security, 5G uses TLS and OAuth 2.0 to protect these communications. TLS, Transport Layer Security, is the same technology that makes HTTPS work on websites. Every communication between network functions and 5G uses TLS 1.2 or above. OAuth 2.0 handles authorization between functions. Before one network function can access another, it must first get an authorization token from the NRS, Network Repository Function. Think of it like a hotel keycard system. Even if you work at the hotel, you can only enter the rooms you're specifically authorized for. This prevents a compromised network function from freely accessing all the data in the core. There's also SEPP, Security Edge Protection Proxy, which protects messages when they travel between different operators, like when you're roaming in another country.
Let's go deep on EMBB security, the high-speed broadband use case. Content protection works on two layers. First, the network layer encrypts your data over the radio interface. Second, the service layer uses DRM, Digital Rights Management. Think Netflix. Your data is encrypted in transit, and DRM prevents you from copying the video. Seamless authentication means when you walk from indoors using Wi-Fi to outdoors using 5G, your session should never drop or ask you to log in again. Your phone silently re-authenticates in the background. Privacy means 5G must prevent anyone from knowing what content you downloaded, when you downloaded it, and where you were when you did it. SUCI protects your identity, and location information is never shared unnecessarily. And with fixed mobile convergence, 5G must work seamlessly across home broadband, enterprise Wi-Fi, and public hotspots, all with the same level of security. Now, for massive IoT, MMTC. This is the most challenging from a security perspective because of scale. You're trying to secure potentially 1 billion devices. The first thing to understand is that in IoT, the data is the asset. A sensor giving wrong temperature data to a factory control system could be catastrophic. So, data integrity, making sure the data hasn't been tampered with, is the top priority. Most IoT devices are battery-powered and expected to last 10 years or more, so security protocols must be lightweight and energy efficient. You can't run heavy encryption on a tiny temperature sensor that runs on 2 AA batteries. Another challenge, IoT devices often also connect via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. They must not bypass 5G security by falling back to these weaker protocols. And devices need to receive firmware updates. These updates must be cryptographically signed by the manufacturer and verified before installing to prevent attackers from pushing malicious firmware. URLLC is the most demanding from a performance perspective. We're talking 1 millisecond latency with 99.999% reliability. For self-driving cars and remote surgery, security cannot slow things down. The challenge is, adding encryption and authentication takes time. Even a few milliseconds of security processing is too much for URLLC. The solution is pre-authentication and context transfer. Your device authenticates in advance and caches the security context, so when a handover happens, security is resumed instantly rather than re-established from scratch. Integrity protection is mandatory for URLLC, unlike the user plane in EMBB where it's optional. You cannot have a surgical robot command that gets modified by an attacker. Only formally verified, mathematically proven cryptographic algorithms are allowed. Factories and hospitals can also run their own private 5G networks, and the 5G standard supports third-party authentication, so enterprises can use their own identity systems. Now let's talk about what can go wrong. The biggest new threat from 5G is IoT botnets. Remember the Mirai botnet attack in 2016? 400,000 compromised IoT devices generated 1 terabit per second of attack traffic, taking down major websites. 5G enables 10 times more devices. The potential for larger attacks is real. Virtualization introduces new risks, too. In 4G, network functions ran on dedicated hardware. In 5G, they run as software. A single software vulnerability could compromise an entire virtual network function. NFC payments, near-field communication, are vulnerable to relay attacks, where an attacker intercepts the payment signal. Ransomware on 5G infrastructure is a growing concern. Imagine ransomware hitting a smart city's 5G core, affecting traffic lights, ambulances, and hospital systems simultaneously. And remember, 5G uses IP. Every attack that works on the internet works on 5G infrastructure too. Finally, let's look at what's coming. The biggest future threat is quantum computing. Today's encryption, RSA, ECC, relies on mathematical problems that are extremely hard for classical computers to solve. Quantum computers can solve these problems in minutes. The concern is harvest now, decrypt later. Attackers could be recording encrypted 5G traffic today, waiting for quantum computers to become powerful enough to decrypt it in the future. The solution is post-quantum cryptography, new algorithms that even quantum computers can't break. The U.S. standards body, NIST, has already published the first post-quantum standards. On the hardware side, 5G's wave spectrum, above 6 GHz, interferes with aircraft altimeters near airports. The FAA in the U.S. raised serious concerns about this. Network slicing must provide complete isolation. A guest Wi-Fi slice and a hospital slice running on the same physical infrastructure must be totally separated. And physical layer security, protecting the actual radio waves, will become more important in 5G Phase 2. Okay, let's bring it all together. 5G security comes down to 6 big ideas. Number 1, security by design. 5G is the first generation that was built with security as a core requirement from day one. Number 2, SUSI protects your identity. Your real IMSI is never transmitted over the air. IMSI catchers don't work on 5G. Number 3, mutual authentication. Both you and the network prove their identities. Fake base stations are defeated. Number 4, full key hierarchy. One master key generates an entire tree of session keys. Each channel gets its own dedicated key, and compromising one doesn't expose the others. Number 5, use case specific security. EMBB, URLLC, and MMTC each have tailored security that balances protection with performance. Number 6, future ready. Algorithm agility and post-quantum preparation means 5G security is designed to survive the next 20 years. That's 5G security. If you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.